Boise, Idaho is booming, but there's a hidden real estate truth that no one's talking about. But before we get started, I'll let you know we're at Lucky Peak Lake, give you a bird's eye view of it and the way it looks. Real beautiful lake out here in Boise, Idaho, kind of a hidden gem. There's a lot of new homes, new construction, new communities, a lot of new properties. But of course, with the beautiful homes, from the outside, it looks like everybody's winning here. But of course, the question is, who can actually be a part of this future by affording it? And real estate is connected with jobs, so it's also connected with wages. It's also connected to whether a family, a young professional, or someone starting over can actually build a life out here. Today, we're going to actually look at really what's happening here in Boise in real estate. And of course, with the employment and the economy, and why the next few years could change this area forever. Boise, Idaho, and the Treasure Valley area have been on the radar for years. People moved here for the lifestyle because of the mountains, the community, the activities, and the quality of life. But then something happened. More people discovered Idaho, and they came out. Developers started building, and suddenly a market that used to feel overlooked and became one of the hottest conversations in real estate. But every boom creates a new set of challenges because prices rises and the demand rises. So a person who bought a home years ago may think they made the perfect decision, but someone trying to buy a home today is facing a completely different reality. Here's the part that gets overlooked. Real estate doesn't exist in a vacuum. A house is only valuable because people live out there and build their lives around it. Every neighborhood depends on workers, construction workers, healthcare professionals, teachers, technology worker, small business owners, and service workers. The question becomes, are the jobs growing at the same speed as the housing market? And because a city can build amazing homes, a city can attract companies, a city can experience incredible growth, but if the average worker gets priced out, that creates a major challenge. Now, here's where the conversation gets controversial. Growth creates winners. People who already own property may see tremendous benefits. Investors who recognize the trend early may have great opportunities, but growth can also create challenges. For people trying to enter the market for the first time, the game becomes harder. And this is happening in cities all across America right now. The question isn't, is growth good or bad? The question becomes, which is the better question, how do we make sure growth creates opportunities for everyone? Investors don't just look at houses, they look at patterns. Why people are moving, where they're moving, where are jobs being created, and of course, will the demand exist 5, 10, 20 years from now? Very important. That's why employment numbers matter so much in real estate, and demand creates housing needs. So housing needs creates opportunities, but smart investors also look deeper than that. They also ask, why are people moving out here? Are they moving out here permanently? Are wages supporting housing prices? Is the growth sustainable? These are all important questions to be asked. So where does Boise go from here? Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows. Markets do change. Interest rates can change, as you already know. Companies change. People change. The one thing that is certain, the relationship between jobs and real estate will always matter. Behind every neighborhood is a community, and behind every successful city is an economy that gives people a chance to participate. So the next time you hear people say Boise is booming, of course, ask a deeper question. Booming for who? Because the future of real estate isn't about how many homes we build. It's about whether people have jobs and the opportunities to call homes their own. Now we're going to be talking about the hidden risks of home equity investments. Are homeowners actually trading away their future? Now, we just talked about how important jobs, income, and economic growths are when it comes to real estate. But there's another side of real estate we don't talk about nearly enough. And that's what happens after you finally become a homeowner. Because buying a house is only one part of the journey. For millions of Americans, their home represents decades of work. And of course, it represents mystifications, long hours, and sacrifices. So, saving money when it wasn't easy. And over time, that home becomes one of the largest sources of wealth a person has. And they're saying, you have equity sitting in your home, why not access it today? And on the surface, that sounds pretty appealing, right? Who wouldn't want to access tens of thousands of dollars without adding another monthly payment to it? But there's a bigger question every homeowner needs to ask, and that is, what are you giving up in exchange for that money? A lot of people have asked questions about home equity investments. And honestly, this is a topic that deserves more attention because a lot of homeowners have heard about these products, but they don't fully understand how they work. Many people confuse them with HELOC, which stands for Home Equity Line of Credit. Some people think they're basically the same thing. They're not. A HELOC is a loan. You borrow against equity in your home, you make payments, you pay interest, and instead of simply lending you money, the company essentially is taking a percentage of your home's future value. And that's how a home equity investment works differently. They are making an investment in your property. And the difference is extremely important because when you borrow money, you generally know what your obligation is. With an equity investment, the amount you equally owe can depend heavily on what happens to your home's value in the future. Now let's talk about why homeowners consider these products, because there's a reason they exist. For some people, accessing home equity can solve some very real problems. Maybe someone has unexpected medical expenses. Maybe they lost their job. And this is where the sales pitch becomes powerful. Imagine someone saying, you don't have to make monthly payments. It immediately gets their attention because monthly payments are what most people worry about. Mortgage payments, car payments, credit cards, even bills. And the idea of getting a large amount of money, okay, is pretty attractive to them. But anytime you're dealing with financial products, you have to look beyond the first benefit, because the question is not only what do I get today, but also the question is, what does it cost me tomorrow? Think about what your house represents. Okay, for many homeowners, their house is not just where they live, it's their retirement plan. It's their emergency fund. It's something they hope to pass down to their children, and it's their security, okay? Over the last several years, millions of homeowners have built incredible amounts of equity in their homes. They know there is trillions of dollars in homeowner equity sitting across America, so naturally, businesses can create products like these designed to access that money. And again, the concept isn't automatically good or bad. The important thing is understanding the agreement that you have. Because anytime you trade your future wealth for money today, you need to understand exactly what you're giving away. The first question I would ask when considering one of these products is, why do you need the money? Because there's a huge difference between using your own equity strategically or using equity because you're financially trapped. If someone uses the money to improve their property, to improve their home or business opportunity, that's one conversation. But if someone is using it because they can't pay their bills, be extremely careful. So let's break this down. Okay, the basic idea is a homeowner has property. Let's say the property is worth about $500,000. The homeowner has built up significant equity, and a company comes in and says, we will give you a lump sum of cash. Maybe it's $50,000, maybe it's $100,000 or more. In exchange, the company receives a percentage of the home's future appreciation. So if the home increases value over the time, that company participates in the increase. The homeowner gets money now, and the company hopes that the property becomes more valuable later. And that's the foundation of the agreement. But here's where the homeowners need to pay attention. The future value of your home is not something you can always predict. Markets change, neighborhoods change, interest rates change, and the economy changes. And a decision like that looks simple today, but can also become more complicated years later. There's also an emotional side of conversation that people don't talk about too. A house is not just numbers on a spreadsheet, it is memories. It's a family, it's years of effort. And of course, for many people, their home is one thing they've built that provides the security that they need. But whenever you use your home as a financial tool, you need to understand exactly, again, what you're exchanging. Because your home doesn't always just represent your past work, but also represents the future possibilities. This is also a lesson for people that are interested in real estate investing. A lot of new investors focus on buying property, they focus on appreciation, they focus on rental income, and they focus on finding the next hot market. Those things matter. But experienced investors understand something deeper, because wealth's not created by making one good decision, it's created by making good decisions over the decades. It's about understanding the risk, it's about understanding the contracts, it's about knowing when something sounds too good to be true. So before you sign something involving your home, ask yourself one simple question. Am I solving a temporary problem by creating a permanent financial obligation? Because sometimes the fastest solution isn't always the best solution. Your house represents years of sacrifice. Don't make a decision based on today's problem. Think about tomorrow. Think about 5 years from now. Think about 10 years from now. Because real estate is a long game. Okay, and decisions that you make today can impact any financial decisions tomorrow. Your home is one of the most powerful financial tools you'll ever own. It can create wealth and create stability. It can create opportunities for your family. But protecting the wealth requires understanding of it. Not every offer that arrives in your mailbox is a gift. Not every solution is the best solution. And sometimes the smartest move is simply taking your time to understand the deal before you sign your name on the contract. Because in real estate, the biggest wins don't always come from making the fastest decisions. They come from making the smartest ones.